please introduce Phil Ferdinando? I always want to say your name incorrectly. We're still working on getting this up and running in terms of some pictures that Phil wants to show us. He's going to talk about composting, but I asked him if he would tell us a little bit about the background of J&F Farms, because I learned yesterday that it's been here for quite some time. So
Long time.
you could do that, and hopefully by the time you're done, we'll be able to get the pictures. But he said he can talk about composting without the pictures, if we can't do it right now.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do I need this? Can everybody hear me? All right. So I guess I don't need the mic, but I'll tell you a little bit about the farm. We've been in business in the same location since 1906. My grandparents moved to Derry originally and bought the original farm that's on Old Auburn Road. I don't know if anybody knows where it is. I've usually got sweet corn planted there in the summer, sweet corn or pumpkins. And so that was the original part of the farm. And then in the, probably in the 50s, I think, my dad and my uncle bought another farm, which is on Route 102. It's where our office and our truck business is there. And then between that time and now, we've purchased several other farms in the area as they were available, so that we'd have land enough to keep growing things into the future. And we still can use more land if anybody has any fields that any fields available. I'd be glad to plant them if we could make some kind of arrangement. So we run all over the place for land now. Derry, Chester, Auburn, East Derry. I go all the way to Litchfield. I plant some land on Route 3A over there, about 40 acres that I raise corn for my cows. So we plant 300 acres of crops now, all together. So we stay busy. We work on, we work steady from as soon as we've got good weather here. Probably, I hope, if it doesn't snow this weekend like they're talking, we'll be starting to do some work in the fields next week, I hope. So I've got a lot of. We start by spreading manure and fertilizer and turning the land over, getting it ready, and so it's a long process between now and when we can actually plant stuff, and then it's just a waiting game till everything's ready to harvest. And so there's a lot goes into it. All the planting work. Last year was dry, as everybody knows, I'm sure, so we spend a huge amount of time and money irrigating. And if you don't have water, you got to get it somewhere. And the amount of crops that we put in and have to depend on, because that's our income, you can't just let it dry up and blow away. So somehow you have to get the water to it and make it successful crop out of it. So anyway, that's a little history about the farm. And I guess we've got pictures here. Are we ready? All right. So this is the beginning of composting. That first picture was me, believe it or not. That was back when I used to color my beard. But my daughter told me this morning that picture was from 1994, so a while ago. So anyway, composting, I always call it, composting is a recipe. It's like it's like making a cake or something. You have certain things that, I mean, everybody has something they can compost around home. You've got vegetable waste, fruit waste, yard waste, anything. It's composting has taken all kinds of organic waste and hopefully making a usable product out of it. And the reason for making compost is to build organic matter in your soil. You know, organic matter is one of the most important parts of soil and the important makeup of soil. And because the organic matter that we add to the soil, or that we already might have in our soil, is what feeds the crop. That's what manufactures fertilizer on its own to feed your plants. And it's like a natural decomposition of organic materials that makes compost and makes nutrients available to a crop, no matter what your crop is, if it's pumpkins or corn or other types of vegetables. So I use these 5 ingredients here mainly. I've got a good supply of cow manure. I can get leaves anywhere from landscapers. Sometimes we haul truckloads of leaves in from the town of Derry composting yard there. There's always grass clippings from lawn mowing, and I get a lot of grass in from landscape people too. They come in and dump it right at the farm there. Vegetable waste, we've always got stuff left over in the fields and vegetables left from the farm stand or whatever. We mix all that in. Pumpkins, leftover pumpkins, they compost real well. And horse manure, there seems to be there's an unlimited supply of horse manure around. If anybody needs horse manure, it's very easy to come by. There's people wanting to get rid of it all the time, and it's a good material to compost. It's not real good on its own, but when you mix it with a whole bunch of other stuff, it makes really good compost. That's the recipe part. It's top secret. I can't tell you the amounts that we put together, because it's not, you know, it's my recipe. So I actually have no idea. I just mix stuff together, and it always seems to come out good. So there's my supply of cow manure right there. I've got a lot of cattle, and they make well, on a daily basis, I clean up usually between 4,000 and 6,000 pounds of cow manure a day. So they eat, right now they eat about 5,000 pounds of corn a day, plus their hay, and they'll drink, you know, each one of those animals on a normal day will drink 10 to 15 gallons of water. In hot weather, they'll drink way more than that. So I've got that manure factory going on all the time. So I use a lot of straight cow manure on my fields to grow the crops, and then I sell cow manure to people for gardens, and a lot of it I use to make compost with. That's one of my ingredients, and I think it makes a really good compost. So when you mix all your ingredients together, I use this here. This is like a meat thermometer that you have in your kitchen. It's the same thing, it's just a little bigger. And you push this into the pile of mixed ingredients, and you can read the temperature inside the pile. Temperature is important. When you're mixing compost, you want it to be between like 120 and 135 degrees inside the pile. And if your temperature starts to to drop, you mix your piles again. I mix them all with a front end loader. You know, I put all my ingredients together and I keep lifting up the pile, dumping it, rolling it around, and that's to get air into the pile. You want to get oxygen in the pile to help break down your ingredients for the compost. If your pile is packed too hard, it won't compost as well. You have to keep fluffing it up and getting oxygen mixed with all your ingredients to get a good temperature, and that's what decomposes all those materials and makes compost. So what's our next? Oh, that's a calf there. I thought that was just a cute picture from my manure manufacturing facility, but that calf was born about 3 weeks ago, and you know, it's amazing. A calf, I mean, you can see that calf is still wet from, it was probably a few minutes old right there. And you know, you talk about you know, making organic matter and a recipe and all that, and you think how those animals, their instinct is amazing. They have no help. The calf is born, the mother never went to school, never learned anything, and she knows right away how to take care of that little calf, and within no time, 20 minutes or so, the calf is up on her feet and nursing on the mother with no instruction at all. They're amazing. So anyway, here's some of the cow manure. I truck that all winter. I take a dump truck load a day from the barn, and I pile it out in the fields, and that right there I will use to mix with ingredients for compost. Some of it would be there to spread on the fields too. What's the next? Oh, there's leaves. You can see the pile of leaves on the right. That's leaves that people have brought in for me to use to make compost, mostly landscaping, I think that came from, fall cleanup type stuff. And leaves break down really good. I mean, they make nice dark compost. Leaves are beautiful for mixing and, you know, in the whole process. And then I didn't have a picture of a pile of grass clippings because we don't have much around this time of year, so I got that picture to show grass, any kind of grass, anything green, especially green grass. A lot of people that do commercial composting now use seaweed that, you know, that gets cleaned up off the beaches and so forth, and anything green like that facilitates the heating process for making the compost. It heats a lot faster if you've got something green in there. It's the combustion from that green leafy matter breaking down. It creates a huge amount of heat. Vegetable waste, you can see the pile on the right. That's some old squash, I think. Looks like butternut squash that we threw in the pile. That composts very good. And you know, as we're grading, that's on the left there, that's all vegetables that we pick in the summertime to sell, and there's always ones that get banged up or bruised or dropped or whatever, and sometimes that'll go directly to the compost pile. A lot of times I feed all that to the cows, and then it still goes in the compost pile after. It's just, it has a dual purpose. It's feed and compost. So, and there's horse manure. I've got Oh, I don't know, I must have, and that pile alone is probably 400 feet long, and there's hundreds of yards of compost there. I mean, horse manure. Hundreds of yards of horse manure. So all the piles of things that I've showed you so far, all those ingredients, all get mixed together and turned, and then it comes out looking like that. That's a finished pile of compost right there. And you can see I've got 2 handfuls of it, and it looks good. It's nice stuff. I've brought a pail here that I don't know if you want to pass it around or just come and look at it after, but it's really nice. It's really nice stuff. It has no odor. Well, it smells like dirt, you know. It doesn't smell like manure anymore, and that's about a 2-year-old compost there. It takes about 2 years to get it to look like that. You can do it faster if you turn it more often, but I get busy in the summertime and don't get it turned enough, so that kind of slows the process down. But if you can turn it, the more you turn it and get it aerated, the faster it breaks down, and it makes a good material. And you can use that. You know, you can put it on top of your whole garden. You can put it with your plants when you're planting, under the plants, around the plants. The people come and get it and put it around fruit trees and shrubbery and all that stuff. So it has a lot of uses, and it won't hurt anything. You can plant right into it. You can put it in the soil today and plant tomorrow. So. This is just, you know, that's a field there that I put compost on, a lot of compost. The one on the right is that's a new planting of strawberries 2 years ago. You can see the plants laying on the plastic there, and you can see the existing strawberry plants. Those are grown in mostly compost, and you can see the color there. They're really green, nice plants, and not much fertilizer, not much chemical fertilizer on there. I do put some on just to kind of get them going in the springtime, but the compost lasts a long time. You know, it'll last through the whole season. It continues to decompose and break down in the soil and make more fertilizer for the plants as the season goes on. It's not like, you know, a chemical fertilizer is kind of a quick release and then it's gone. It gives your plant a quick boost, grow fast, and then it kind of fizzles out, so you have to keep adding fertilizer, where the compost will go through the whole season. When I put that strawberry bed in, I just dumped, that land was very poor. It was very light soil. It was on a hill, and I couldn't grow much there at all. So I dumped actual truckloads of compost there and just spread it around with my bulldozer. I put it on about 4 or 5 inches deep and then turned it in with the soil. I land plowed the field, so it mixed in with the soil, and it became a really productive piece of ground there. So that's a picture of one of the cornfields there. I was telling how in a dry year you have to have water, and you can see the sprinkler head going in the background. And that field there too, I put on a huge amount of compost on that land, and it's really turned that field around good. The only problem I've had with some of the compost is there's always some trash, especially in leaves, and you know, people rake their leaves, they rake up the trash with it, and it all ends up in a compost pile. So we've had to pick a lot of trash out of that field after we applied the compost. So it's not bad. If you pick it up while it's still on top, it's not too bad of a job, but we go out and spread it, and then you have to go by hand and pick up whatever's in there, cans, you know, paper, odds and ends. Sometimes you'll find a rake or a shovel or something too. So, but and then that's I think the same field there. That's a, but look at the color of that corn. It's so nice and dark green, and that's due to the season-long ability of that compost and the manure to feed your crop. So that's my 3 grandkids there. The little guy I'm holding, he didn't want to be there. He's got his rubber boots on, but he just he didn't want to be there for the picture. So and I think that's oh yeah, there's another picture there. That's sweet corn on the farm stand, and that's how we pick it. You see that trailer there? I think there was about 200 5 dozen bushel baskets on that one load, and so we pick a huge amount of corn when it's ready, and that load on the trailer there, that was going to another farm. That's all stuff that we ship out. A big part of my business is supplying other farms with corn. So a lot of people raise, you know, they'll have a piece of land where they can raise vegetables for their own farm stand or whatever, but they don't have enough land to grow corn, because corn takes a huge amount of acreage where you only get 1 ear per plant. So it takes a lot of area to grow a lot of corn. So
You do have the best corn.
oh, thank you, thank you. Well, that's
Sunny Crest last year, and I bought it at Mac.
yeah. We sell the Sunny Crest and Mac and a whole bunch of other places in the area. Most of the farms in the area get corn from me. So the secret to good corn is picking it and eating it the same day. I mean, that's the big thing. So I think that's the last slide there, but that's that strawberry bed that I was telling you I put the big amount of compost on, and that's really done good. Some of those strawberry plants now we've been picking, I think, for 6 years, which is very unusual. Usually on a commercial strawberry bed, if you get 3 or 4 years out of it, it's considered good. But so those have been planted probably for 7 years, and I think we've picked them for 6 years now. So, well, that's the last picture. That's what keeps me around the farm, is the pretty, we get so many good views from the farm there. When you're out working, you can, I think that's the field in front of my house there, I think. But that was a nice picture. So, questions? Anybody got?
I have a question, just something that you had said, which I never realized. You get 1 ear of corn per plant. Do you go and pick off the other ones that aren't good, or?
No, there are some varieties on a good year, a good season, that'll produce 2 ears, but usually the second ear is only about half the size of the first ear, so we don't even pick the second ears most of the time. Yeah, there's one ear per plant. We plant on sweet corn. We plant 26,000 seeds per acre, and we usually pick maybe around 20,000 ears per acre, because you always you know, the birds damage it, the raccoons, the whatever, you know, you always have a certain amount of loss per acre, but we start with 26,000 seeds per acre. So, yes.
Are you planting flowers this year? I know in the past I've seen flowers out in the field.
Yeah, we'll be planting some. We've got some started in the greenhouse now for cut flowers. Yeah, we'll be planting them again.
And do you compost along the road because your sunflowers grow?
Oh yeah, well I put compost there. I get a couple of bucketfuls with the tractor and dump it in there and mix it, and the sunflowers do great in it. So, yes.
Now, I have to, we have a big compost pile, but fluffing it.
You know, you might.
Dig into it.
Yeah. Oh, it's still going to make compost. I mean, if you just leave it in a pile, right? It'll be good. The only, you know, the main reason for mixing it is to hurry it along, and I think it breaks down better when it's mixed. You don't get the you know, big pieces of,
Yeah, sometimes we
you
get
know,
chunks.
yeah, you know, leaf stalks. You know, like if you're composting like corn stalks or tomato vines, you know, things that are kind of rugged. They break down a lot better when they're turned.
Okay,
So,
we'll start turning.
how about way over on the left there?
Tell us about your new location.
Well, it's been good so far. We've stayed open through the winter this year, which we've never done before. So it's the first season. So we bought the probably everybody knows we bought the antique shop next door to the farm. It's right across the street from where the cows are, and those people that owned that, they sold antiques and refinished furniture there for 43 years, and they just wanted to retire and get to Florida, and so I bought the building, and so we've had the farm stand in there this winter. We're toying with the idea of using more of the building and, you know, try to have like a farm market type place in there, but we've got a few hurdles with the fire department and so forth, so we haven't got things done yet, but we're working on it. So.
Do you add water to your compost?
You know, I never have had to. I mean, yeah, usually there's enough moisture. I've heard of people having to add water because if the materials are too dry, it won't compost. But usually, like that's why sometimes I said earlier, like horse manure doesn't compost well by itself because it is dry. And the cow manure has a lot of moisture in it. And cow manure is very dense and heavy. So mixing the cow manure, the horse manure, and everything else, I always seem to have enough moisture in the material, I think.
How do you sell your finished product? Do we bring buckets or
You can
bags?
put it in buckets, barrels. If you have a pickup truck, I can load it. I can deliver it. I've got dump trucks. I can deliver compost. In fact, yesterday, believe it or not, I took a dump truck load of cow manure to East Boston. So,
They don't need more.
I know. But he's a guy that he comes and picks tomatoes at the farm every fall, and he always wants manure. So sometimes he takes pails of it home, whatever, and he bugged me for like 3 weeks this spring to bring him a load of manure, so I finally did.
We can't do
It's
wood
$45
across
a bag.
across state lines. Can we do manure?
Oh yeah, manure can go anywhere. There's no, yeah, you can't cross the line with firewood, but manure is welcome in any state. So yes.
You said that horse manure on its own is not
good for compost. I operate a small horse manure factory myself.
Yeah.
So I wonder if you could say a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
Well, it will compost. You know, if you probably got an old pile, do you? Yeah. I mean, it will compost by itself, and it makes good compost, but it's very slow. You know, if you turned it, if you're able to mix it, and don't add, you know, if you've got a pile that's a couple years old that you're turning, that you're mixing to make better compost out of it, don't add new stuff to it. Keep it separate. Just work that pile, and then work your other piles when they get a little older. But
Yeah, I maintain a series of piles. I got some piles that are 6 years old, and
yeah,
it seems to be low in nitrogen. And I'd read that because there's wood shavings mixed in.
that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The wood shavings, you know, if that'll ruin the pH in your field unless it's well composted, because especially pine. You know, if you go in, like we've made fields out of an area that there was pine trees, and the pH will only be, you know, maybe like 3 to 4, and it should be close to 7, and it's because of the pine, you know, the needles and all that stuff. So you gotta, if you're using uncomposted horse manure, you better put lime on right away with it, because it'll destroy the pH in the soil. So, yes,
Containers, you can buy containers or make them
right.
to turn, do they work pretty well?
You know, I've seen them, but I've never, you know, I've seen them in people's yards and stuff. I never know how they work. Yeah, yeah. But they do, I guess they work. I see people using them, but that's more to, that, you know, they tumble it and get the air into it, yeah. So, yes?
They work, but you have to have, and I've done it, and had it work. But you know, when you're talking about the recipe,
Yep.
the recipe is everything.
Right.
If you don't get the right recipe in it, and you turn and turn, it doesn't work.
Right.
And I think it's too labor intense for such a small amount of product in the end.
Yeah.
That's my experience anyway.
Yeah, they have some of the companies that, or all the companies that like manufacture compost that's in bags, you know, they've got special machinery that turns that pile and aerates it, and that's the only job that it does. You know, I don't have one of them. I use my front end loader just because it's what I have, you know. So I try to make the equipment I have work. Yes?
Sorry, I'm new to the area. Could you tell me your location?
We're right on Chester Road in Derry, right over by Beaver Lake, just east of Beaver Lake. We're right on Chester Road. So we're 2 miles from the traffic circle. Question over here?
When you pull your weeds and grass out of the gardens, say your flower gardens, when you throw that in the compost pile, I find that just the roots just take off and fill the compost right full of roots.
Well, it will, especially like some of the grass and stuff, you know, like crabgrass and stuff like that. And weeds, any kind of weeds and grass, they've got such a massive root system. They just, but you know, if you were able to turn that the roots would die out and decompose with the rest of the material after a while. But, you know, weeds are all right to compost, but, you know, you got to make sure that you have enough heat and they break down so that you're not just spreading weeds back out onto your garden again. So, yes?
Are you going to have both locations on Chester Road open, or just your new location?
Well, no, we're gonna have to have both because the new place, we've got enough parking there, I think, for the normal farm stand business. But when we do different things, you know, like the pick your own strawberries, the pumpkins, the school trips and all that stuff, we're gonna have to have the old place going, I think, mostly for that stuff, because of the parking. You know, sometimes we have buses in there, sometimes we have 100 extra cars, so we have to have the parking, and so I think we're gonna have to keep both places going for now. So I think it'll be good in a way, because sometimes when we do some of those functions that we do, we get so many cars there that there's not enough place for the customers that want to come and run in and grab a dozen ears of corn. They have to park way out in the field somewhere. So I think this may actually be a good thing for parking wise. So, yes, Blanche.
How well do you do with your corn stalk business?
Oh, I sell a lot of corn stalks. You mean the bundles of corn stalks for decoration? Yeah. Last year I think, I lose track every year, but last year I think I cut about 12,000 bundles of corn stalks, you know, roughly. I cut them with a machine that it cuts the stalk, makes a bundle and puts one string around it, and that machine was built to be pulled by horses back in the 20s. So I've got 3 of them. Every time I see one somewhere for sale, I buy it so I can have the parts or whatever, because they don't make them anymore, you know. So that machine's almost 100 years old, and I use it every year, and I cut more and more corn stalks. We ship them all over the place, all over New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont, Massachusetts. There's farms that come and pick them up from all over the place. It's an amazing, you know, it seems kind of, it almost seems kind of foolish, you know, you buy a bundle of corn stalks, tie it to your mailbox, and then let it die. And, but, you know, I mean, you gotta sell what people want, you know. Yes, Blanche?
I do want everybody to know, if Peg Kinsella was here, she would want you to know she's involved with the community gardens that are located right up the street here in East Derry. And for I don't know how many years, Phil has tilled that area so that people have their plot ready for planting, and she's involved with, you know, people have to sign up in advance. So if you don't have a good spot and you want to grow something, you have to talk to Peg Kinsella, and you have to say thank you to Phil for all.
I think I've been doing that since they put the garden in. I know, I don't know how many years it is now, but I always spread a load of cow manure on it, and then I plow it and disc harrow it and get it all ready for planting. So, yes. So,
Phil, backyard composters like us,
yeah,
we get a bunch of pine needles.
right.
What do we do about that?
I mean, you can compost them, but you know, it's like the pine bedding in horse manure. I mean, the needles will compost fine, but you're going to have to put extra lime wherever you use them.
So without having to test the soil constantly, is there a simple formula? How much do you put in? How much lime? What kind of lime?
Well, I mean, the only accurate way is to do soil samples. But I mean, if you put pine needles, you know, any amount of them, I'd put plenty of lime in with it. You know, if you had an area, say 50 feet square, that you composted pine needles and put them on there, I'd put a couple of bags of lime right on with it.
Granulated lime?
You can use there's pelleted lime, granular, the powder, you know, the pelletized lime works the fastest, depending on, you know, the other limes you'd have to put on in the fall for the following season, but pelleted lime you could put on now and get some advantage from it. So. yes.
Last fall, I put some big turban squash in my compost heap, and today it looked just like it looked last fall.
Yep.
So should I have cut that up and,
Yeah, yes, it's probably dried up now. It's probably hollow, I don't know, but, yeah, but you smash it up with a shovel or something and it'll break down a lot better. Some of those squashes, the rind on the outside, you know, the skin actually turns like into a shell, and it protects it for a long time. So if you want to compost it, smash it up good. So, but we do, yes.
We've used wood ashes for lime too.
Yep, yep. Wood ash is very good. I spread, I got in 300 ton of wood ash a year ago and used it, spread it on my fields. It came from one of the wood burning power plants. The ash that I got came from Fitchburg, Mass. And 300 ton of it. And it takes about 3 ton of wood ash to equal 1 ton of lime, depending on the plant that it comes from. But it's all, you know, it's just ash, just out of those big power plants there that burn wood chips. They produce a huge amount of ash, and most of it goes to agriculture. So, yeah. Questions over here? Yes.
I had put up a picture here. I have a little home composting bin,
Yep.
3 sections, and I got the idea from the Go Green Derry. They have something very similar to that at the community garden.
Right. Yep.
So I don't know if anybody else has anything like this, but I turn mine and move it into, oh, right there it goes. Put it from one into another.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have any experience with anything like that? To, you know, how often we should turn it, or?
Well, you know, I mean, the more the better, but it's hard to do, especially by hand. But I mean, if you did it once a month, it would be great. If
in the winter, we can still keep adding things on.
Oh yeah, yeah. You just keep adding to it and keep mixing it. You know, compost like this winter wasn't real cold, and my piles never froze because they're always making heat. You know, last winter they did freeze. The outside of the pile froze, but they're still warm inside all the time.
And what about worms? I mean, is it normal to see worms in a compost?
Should, yeah, yeah. Well, that's an excellent place for worms. I mean, they love all that decomposing stuff. You know, they live in it. When I load compost, there's worms in it all the time. So, and of course worms, you know, they're one of the best things for your garden too. So
So if there's worms in it, we're doing it right.
yeah, yeah. If you've got worms in it, it's good. Yeah, the worms like it. The plants will like it. Yeah. Any more questions?
I think this has been fantastic, Phil. We really learned a lot.
Oh,
We all come by your farm. I do. I live myself.
all right. You can come check out the new place. All right.
And we can have our lunch now, and you're welcome to join us.
All right. I'm gonna go as usual. I have many things to do, so I'm gonna get back to the farm and get busy. So, well, thank you everybody, and we'll see you all sometime.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.